It's time for another Big Six. Let's continue connecting the dots related to movement. Let's make sense of what our movement experience should look like. We're going to start with a warm-up, and we won't do get back ups in the traditional sense, but what we're going to do is work on change of elevation. So if you think about things like getting in and out of the car, in and out of the tub, going up steps, getting something from underneath the kitchen sink, all requires some strength, some stability, but also some mobility. We like to think about our philosophy as mobility, stability, and function. So here's how we'll start. We'll start first with a hinge, okay? So I'm hinging really just over one leg and back. It's not a big movement. I'm just trying to work my hip up, or what we call a posterior chain, okay? So that's my hip, my lumbar spine, my hamstring, my calves, and really the bottom of your foot comes into play from this standpoint, just in terms of being able to load or to use the ground efficiently. Okay, so thinking about things as rubber bands or springs. And so that was my first hinge. Now, I'm also going to warm up by maybe getting a little bit lower and then coming back up. All right, so now I'm getting that change in height here allows me to access my glutes. All right. Do you want to think about a muscle that makes sense in terms of being able to lengthen it or stretch it? You know, muscles work like rubber bands. If we're going to stretch that glute or lengthen that glute so that we can use it, some of that needs to happen. Now, continuing that same theme, I'm going to go here, split step and turn, split step and turn. So I'm just working on warming up, split step turn, split step turn, split step turn. And if I turn to the side here, same concept. All right. Now, why don't we just work on taking a big step and reach? All right. You can alternate sides. Big step and reach. What's that doing? Waking up my foot and ankle. This is my stride. If I'm walking, I'm going to grab a door and work on pulling it open. All right. So that'll be my part of my warm-up sequence. Then the next thing we want to do is just kind of get a big reach up and back down. Big reach up and back down. You can make these more challenging if you get up on your toes. But again, just trying to get some blood flow. Now, if we think about what we want to do next, let's think about how the body works together. We're going to connect upper body, lower body with some core integration. So facing you, I'm going to do almost a mini lunge, but what I'm really looking at doing is covering a circle. All right, so imagine there's a circle drawn around me. I'm going to engage my left side. So slight bend in the knee, slight bend in the hip. I want to make sure I know where my left foot is. I'm going to tap forward, come back, out to the side, back, straight back. Good. And I'm going to go forward again, back, out to the side, back, straight back. If that's not challenging enough, we won't tap in the middle. Forward, side, back. Forward, side, back. So really kind of good to pick a point to help with your balance, okay? So then we'll try that on the other side. Again, I'm engaging, I'm compressing into the ground. I'm using the ground for feedback. Tap, I can tap in the middle, tap, back here, tap. So again, tap, back, out to the side, back, and then I go straight back. And again, if it's not too challenging, you wanna make it more challenging. Tap, hover, tap, hover, tap, hover back in the middle. Tap, hover, tap, hover, tap, hover back in the middle. That single leg stance is really important. If you notice, I'm not letting my foot drop in. Okay, so that means I'm not gonna rotate the knee. I'm not gonna drop and rotate that hip, which will torque my lumbar spine a bit. That's first movement. Now, in the next part of our movement, we're gonna do maybe a reverse fly. Let's think about it that way. I'm gonna go split step again. I wanna engage my lower body. So from this standpoint, I'm here. I'm gonna bring my elbow up, my elbows up, squeeze together, and back. I've gotta engage my core here. Squeeze together, and back. So I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together from the side, looks here, boom, squeeze, and back. I'm really squeezing my shoulder blades back, opening my chest wall up, allowing me to still stay engaged through my abdominal wall. If I do that facing backwards, I'm here, squeeze, and back, squeeze, and back. And so those are my reverse flies. It allows me to continue syncing movement together. And if we think about hip extension being a vital part of movement in loading or unloading, I'm going to go ahead again and engage the ground. I'm not going to just stand here, kind of lock out my hips, hang out on my wide ligaments and extend my lumbar spine. That's a rest position. All right, it's not a position that's going to be as effective in terms of what we want to do from a movement standpoint. So I'm going to engage again on this left side. You can let your hands hang here. You can bring them in close. But what you don't want to do is have sloppy posture. So no saggy backs. Okay, we're going to just kind of engage, and I'm going to pick this right leg up, hinge and back, hinge and back. This gives me a single leg balance challenge. Okay, now if I didn't want it to be as difficult, or if my fitness level didn't allow me to do that, I'm going to keep the toe down. I'm still engaged, I'm still connected to the ground. I'm going to hinge, I'm going to bring that foot back down. I'm going to hinge, I'm going to bring that foot back down again. Hinge, bring that foot back down. If I wanted to make this a little more challenging, some of you might want to do that. I'm going to go here. Hinge and reach, and I can tap, or I can just go hinge and reach, hinge and reach, hinge and reach, back, hinge and reach, back. That, if you're playing soccer, if you like playing golf or tennis, you just want to hang around and do crazy things with your kids, it allows you to work through some rotational patterns, but also running. All right, so if you think about your stride, boom, all right? So it allows you to do a little bit of that. Now let's think about rotation and what single leg rotation really looks like. I'm going to grab something from one side. So not single leg rotation, but really split step rotation or split stance rotation. All right. So I'm going to get into this position. And so split step, I've got my right leg forward. Again, I'm connected to the ground. That move allows me, it's my ready position in tennis, basketball, you name it. If I'm playing defensive back and I get here on the football field. But I'm split step here, nice and tall, squeezing or keeping everything aligned, keeping everything in balance. I'm going to push and reach, push and reach. So notice my legs aren't collapsing. I'm creating tension between my upper body and my pelvis, but also my upper body and my feet. And then my feet and the ground. Split step here, push and reach. Again, push and reach. You shouldn't be in your heel necessarily on the front leg. You should be able to move around. So maybe a little bit more towards the balls of your feet or the balls of that left foot. And notice my right heel is up. So I'm definitely engaged there. And as we think about what that looks like, well, it allows us to reach across the body, creating tension across the front line, which is very important. Next thing we're going to do, no weight. We're going to work on some shoulder mobility, but also maybe a little bit of, maybe a little strength. I'm going to go split step. All right. Connected to the ground again. I'm going to take this right hand in front of me, and I'm going to make sure that I'm nice and tall. I'm not arched. My pelvis is under me. I'm going to pull to my chest. And then what I'm going to do is reach up and press overhead and then come back. Press overhead and back. Press overhead and back. I can maintain that same position and do the same thing with the left arm in that position, right? Now, you've got some other options. I'm going to turn this way, right leg forward here. So if I did left, I can press here, but I can also, to give myself room under my acromion, I can press here. So what's your acromion? It's basically this roof over this supraspinatus tendon here, all right? And so if you have got some impingement, rotate. You rotate the thumb back. That allows you to do that. Again, connected to the ground, press up, keeping my rib cage here as I reach for the ceiling, creating tension. Tension helps the body move from one side to the next, but you don't want too much tension because that robs the body of being efficient. Now, what do we want to do next? Let's do a modified deadlift as what we end with. I'm going to make this a little bit more complex than just kind of your typical deadlift. Now, what is important about the deadlift? The position of the pelvis as it relates to how much stress you put on your low back. So if you keep your hips in the right position and you can actually lower, create some tension in your hamstring and your glutes, it helps the muscles that extend your low back to work efficiently, and therefore you decrease how much stress you put on the actual joints and the disc in your low back. I'm going to do a split step version of this. So I've got my right leg forward. I'm going to take my left hand, reach for the ground. So my left hand is reaching for my imaginary weight. My right hand is overhead. All right? And I'm going to go here and back. Do you have to go all the way to the ground? Not at all. This can be just as challenging getting here. Notice I've got to create or maintain tension, right? And I'll keep my right leg forward from this standpoint. I'm going to swap arms. So now I'm reaching through this whole left side. My left hip is extended and I'm here. But I don't have to get to the ground again for this to be challenging. At the top, I'm going to squeeze my glutes, squeeze my quads. Again, kind of a different perspective here. Boom. All right, so that's my challenge. All right, I'm going to work on my posture and my alignment. I don't want to get lazy and start doing this. All right, or maybe lazy is not the word, but I want to use what my body is going to allow me to use. So the mobility that my body gives me, all right, I'm here, I'm in a great position, come back up. If my body says, hey, you've got more mobility and you can use it efficiently, I can work on that. I can go lower. Again, this is if my fitness level allows, if my hip mobility, my knee mobility, my ankle mobility, my T-spine mobility allows me to do those things, shoulder mobility. So if you're going through this and your shoulders, you can only raise your arm to here, and maybe we've got some work to do. Maybe we make some adjustments in working on how well we move. So as you guys know, our thing is move well, live well, do amazing things. We want you to have big, hairy, audacious goals. We want your amazing things to be things that, or challenges, experiences that improving your mobility and your quality of life allow you to accomplish. Hope you had fun kind of unpacking this. This is fun for us because it helps educate you. It helps teach you a little bit of what we do as we work through treatment. It's allowing you to function well. So your function brings you in, but really the carrot for us is understanding why, understanding what your goals are, and then trying to tie or working to tie mobility, stability, and function together.